6 vehicles stolen and a boy drowns in NCD. 4 soldiers rearrested for the murder of a student. And deadly bombings in Pakistan targets Christians.
This is National EMTV News with Lorraine Genia.
Good evening, great to have your company for Monday's news. 4 of the 6 PNGDF soldiers implicated in the death of a student in Port Moresby last year were rearrested on Holy Thursday. This comes after their court case was struck out by the Waigani Committal Court on the 16th of March on technical grounds. NCD and Central Divisional Commander SYLVESTER KALAUT confirmed the rearrest this afternoon.
The 4 soldiers were brought to the Boroko police station by military police. They were rearrested for murder and their files served. 2 others will be rearrested tomorrow as they were both out on training when the other 4 were arrested. The 6 soldiers are Francis Nasi, Jude Nidung, David Taipe, Kenneth Yangan, Tobias Samson, Gregory Tuaki, and Alwin Matiabe. All are between the ages of 25 and 26. It was alleged that on July 25th last year, the 6 mistook the late Jeremiah Yinu for a killer student and badly assaulted him. Yinu was taken to the Port Moresby General Hospital but died a few days later. Their case was first mentioned at the Waigani Committal Court in August 2015 and the 6 were allowed out on bail. On 16th March this year, their case was struck out by Magistrate John Kaumi because police prosecutors did not compile files on time. However, NCD and Central Divisional Commander SYLVESTER KALAUT told the media the delay was because police were waiting for 2 medical reports from the doctors who treated Yenu.
And because we needed the medical evidence to be placed on the file to prove that the deceased died as a result of injuries sustained to his scalp.
KALAUT said the case will return to court for a fair trial on the grounds that the medical reports show that Yinu died as a result of the beatings.
We have a deceased who have died as a result of injuries sustained.
The 4 soldiers are now in police custody and bail has been refused. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Bail has been refused for the 6 policemen involved in the illegal search at the Too Fast Motors in Port Moresby on the 13th of March. The 6 men are now in police custody at the Boroko police station cells, awaiting appearance in court. Their charges include armed robbery, extortion and kidnapping. The 6 allegedly entered the premises of the car dealer at Waigani and stole a licensed firearm, cigarettes, including 5 mobile phones. Over 45,000 kina was reported missing, but only 40,000 was recovered. NCD and Central Divisional Commander SYLVESTER KALAUT said the search was illegal because no search warrant was provided and neither his officer nor the NCD Metropolitan Superintendent was aware of the search. Senior Magistrate COSMAS BIDAR has appealed to all his counterparts serving in the country to be smarter when dealing with the current court proceedings. He says magistrates must be exposed to new crimes invading society because criminals are becoming more sophisticated with the use of modern technology.
COSMAS BIDAR, a senior magistrate at the Waigani Committal Court, says cases are getting more technical because criminals are becoming more sophisticated. BIDAR says the trend of committing crimes has changed, unlike in the past, with the use of modern technology like mobile phones. For example, from a risky job of a bank robbery to a simple fraud and money laundering.
People are getting smarter and the manner in which they go about committing offenses is getting more technical. And then people who investigate those cases, they have to be smart as well. Like we're running a workshop here, this is a money laundering workshop. And people will go through all lengths to cover their tracks. So people who are investigating, they have to be smart as well to track them down. Yeah.
Currently, there's need for more magistrates to meet the growing demands of every new case. But only 80 magistrates are servicing the 121 districts in the country.
Yeah, we used to have more than 100 before, many years ago. And We used to service all the districts in the entire country, but the numbers have gone down.
Meanwhile, Magistrate BIDAR said all the magistrates must be exposed to the proceedings of new crimes and weigh down the cases properly that will not become threats to the society. Vasinata Yama, National MTV News.
The fight over land where the Koki informal market is built continues between the people of the Moresby South electorate and South Wagi MP Joe Coim. Community leaders are not easily giving the land and have called for investigation into the land title. Moresby South MP Justin TKATCHENKO says there is evidence that the land was acquired illegally.
Issuing fraudulent land titles is now becoming a concern in the capital city. For the Moresby South people, they are now fighting an individual over a portion of land where most of their income is earned. They say the land is under the National Capital District, which by law and proper procedures, their district MP built an informal market for their benefit. Since the completion of the informal market, vendors at Koki are now earning an income to support their families. They say the market has been part of their life. In a recent statement by Moresby South MP Justin TKATCHENKO, the land title was given to a member of parliament prior to its surveying.
So how can you get a piece of land if it's not surveyed and not correctly marked? The National Capital District Commission owns all this land.
The Moresby South MP says he will join his people to make sure the land remains for the Koki community.
NCDC will fight it and go to court to protect this land for the interest of the public and the people of Moresby South and this city.
MP TKATCHENKO also stated that many other land areas in the electorate are also going through court battles with cases of fraudulent land titles given by the Lands Department.
How can these road reserves, public spaces, be taken and given to individuals when the Lands Department clearly can see, clearly can know these are public spaces for the people?
Jack Lopava Jr., National MTV News.
The National Research Institute says the new plan for the future of Lae City needs to take into account growing costs and development competition. NRI Director Dr. Charles YALA says the costs for implementing those plans also need to be brought down along with the cost of housing in order for the quality of life to be improved.
Like all city and town plans, Lae City's plan has reached its use-by date and efforts are now underway by the national and provincial governments to create a new plan that takes into account future growth. The National Research Institute has been looking at possible scenarios of how planning may turn out for Lae and what the obstacles and risks are at present.
The town plans were done using international best practice. Unfortunately, both town plans are unable to dictate development.
Institute Director Dr. Charles YALA, who presented a paper at the University of Technology, points out that the city plan for Lae didn't take into account the needs of Papua New Guineans going into the future, and while it conformed to international standards, the city has come into competition with settlement growth. The NRI has also identified that the cost of implementing the plans are a major obstacle that could render the plan's execution ineffective sometime into the future if we aren't careful. Another major challenge are the urban villages and how to address the needs of the people like the Hanua Bada of Port Moresby and the Ahi of Lae.
Other Papua New Guineans or foreigners come to this place, but for these people, this is their land. So the last thing we would want is to have museums of dysfunctional, disorderly inside a growing city. So the policy challenge now is to come up with a process in the town planning process to modernize those villages.
Going into the future, solutions still need to be found for land management. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Lae.
A school in East New Britain has come out publicly saying it will charge project fees to keep the school running. The Ramalmal Primary School has charged 60 kina for every student, despite announcements the Education Department made not to charge additional fees. Head teacher Elizabeth BOSKI says her school is in desperate need to start off the year and cater for the large number of enrolled students. Edwin Fidelis reports from Kokopo.
It's not clear how long schools all over the country will wait, but Elizabeth BOSKI, the head teacher of Ramalmal Primary School on the outskirts of Rabaul town, says there is only 10,000 kina deposited into their school's operational account.
There was 10,000 kina already in our account, and maybe that was the bit outstanding from last year. And for this year, I do not know, it has not come in yet.
Since 2012, the government made announcements that schools shouldn't collect project fees and that NEC decision hasn't changed this year. But for Ramalmal Primary School, there is already a price tag for every student attending the school.
We've approved 60 kina per head to pay as project fee towards the school. If the money doesn't come in time, we will use our project fees.
Since forming the government coalition in 2012, the PNC-led government has stood on promises to deliver free education, one of the pillars as the party's stronghold. Since 2012, following the rollout of the free education and the TFF policies, there's been a cloud of controversy. The funds trickling down to schools has been very slow. Both parents and teachers have since expressed dissatisfactions in this government's policies. The Education Department says the Provincial Education Board will take full responsibilities to cater to schools' needs in their respective provinces this year.
I therefore direct all the Provincial Education Board, school boards, heads of schools, not to collect project fees and any other forms of fees.
The National Education Department on numerous occasions says there's a shortfall in the education budget that caused the delay. And while the delay continues, many schools like Ramalmal Primary say they will charge project fees on parents in order to keep the school up and running as it awaits for the TFF funds to arrive from Waigani. Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Kokopo.
Graduating students at the University of Natural Resources and Environment have planned to boycott the university's graduation this Thursday. This comes after students were charged an extra 700 kina by the university's administration as graduation fees. Student leaders met over the Easter weekend and formally wrote a letter to the Office of the Vice-Chancellor to reconsider the graduating fees. At 4 this afternoon, student leaders met with the university's registrar to negotiate and avoid a possible boycott. The outcome of the meeting this afternoon is expected to be made tomorrow. And among stories after the break, Maritime Safety Authority issues a warning to small craft operators and the opening of a new TB lab. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching National MTV News. A 10-year-old boy and an adult man drowned over the Easter weekend outside Port Moresby, while 6 vehicles were reported stolen in the city. NCD and Central Divisional Commander SYLVESTER KALAUT said all are different cases, but all were reported to Port Moresby Police. He released this information when giving an update on the police Easter operations in Port Moresby and the Central Province. Tekla Gunga reports.
In the first case, the body of the 10-year-old boy, identified as David Joshua from a mixed parentage of East Sepik and Gulf, was found at the Laloki River on Saturday morning. Police were called to the scene and took the corpse to Port Moresby General Hospital morgue. According to police reports, Joshua was last seen during the Stations of the Cross procession on Good Friday. Officers from the Criminal Investigation Divisions are now working on this case. In the second incident, the corpse of an adult man was discovered floating in the 17-mile river meters away from the picnic area yesterday morning. Again, police were called to the scene and an investigation into the cause of death was launched. In another case, police apprehended 4 suspects involved in a car theft on Friday morning. It was alleged that the 4 men were part of a group of 8 who held up a Filipino man at Gordon's and stole his vehicle. Police acted upon information, and with the assistance of the Pacific Corporation Security, the vehicle was recovered and the 4 suspects apprehended. All are now detained at the Boroko Police Station cells. Thakla Gunga, National, MTV News.
Maritime provinces have been called to take full responsibility to ensure the Small Craft Act 2011 is effectively implemented. Paul Onas, the General Manager of the National Maritime Safety Authority, has called on the 15 maritime provincial administrations to take ownership. He issued a statement following the recent boat mishaps in Manus, Wewak and Milne Bay.
Boat mishaps and deaths related to small craft has prompted the National Maritime Safety Authority to push provinces to implement the Small Craft Act 2011. In a statement released by NMSA, maritime provinces must effectively implement the policy for the safety of all. NMSA said improving the safety for small boat operators and their passengers is crucial after seeing the increase in number of deaths. Currently, NMSA is conducting small craft training in coastal provinces in 3 modules: the small craft registry operation, small craft inspections and the enforcement of the Act. Provincial officers will then be expected to drive and implement the policy with the help of the provincial governments. But the main difficulty faced by NMSA is that some maritime provinces have not appointed officers nor provide resources to implement and embrace the Small Craft Act. So far, NMSA has conducted provincial trainings in Milne Bay, Manus, Morobe, New Island and plans to conduct the Buka training in April. Meanwhile, authorities in Manus and Wewak are still searching for a 20-foot banana boat which capsized between the waters of these 2 provinces early this month. Police have not revealed any report but believe those on board were transporting betel nut. Jagla Pave Jr., National, MTV News.
A significant improvement has been made in tuberculosis diagnosis, treatment and care on Daru Island, Western Province. The island was a no-go zone for visitors a few years back with increased cases of drug-resistant TB. But Deputy Health Secretary Dr. Paison Dakulala commended the work of non-government organisations and the Australian government for funding that has now improved the situation.
Daru Island has been under the microscope of the Health Department and non-government organisations since 2007. With the outbreak of tuberculosis on the island and with increased cases of drug-resistant TB, the PNG government has promised millions of kina for fighting the epidemic, but to date the funds have yet to be fully released. Since 2011, the TB epidemic has grown worse on the island. About 60% of patients who are on 6 months treatment in 2011 have failed to follow up and get the regular medication. This has resulted in a growing number of drug-resistant TB cases, but until last year, the results have improved. The detection rate has improved and many of the patients have been put on medication, some on direct observation.
All diagnosed patients were put on treatment in accordance to international standard and less than 3% loss to follow up at 6 months, which is a major achievement in case holding and in comparison to 2011 cohort where more than 60% cases were lost to follow up. That's a dramatic change and dramatic progress.
The improvement on TB diagnosis, treatment and care came as a result of a collaborative approach taken by the Health Department, NGOs and the Australian government.
I would like to say my sincere thanks to the Australian government to come in a very big way to support us to get this program going, and also we, like to the National Department of Health, I think the standards has been failed terribly over the years by the team leaders who have been taking on the show, and now we are here to close the gap.
World Vision is providing free lunch and extended treatment sites to 5 locations on the island.
5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the island. 5 locations on the is
And we've seen progress because of the collective work that's been done by the broad team here and other people who are not here in this room.
The Australian government has spent a significant amount on addressing TB alone.
The Australian government is funding many of the institutions and the responses, and we will continue with our support. Over the last, from 2011 to 2017, we've committed to $60 million to Papua New Guinea TB responses.
Last Tuesday, the DARU Island community celebrated the World TB Day with the theme Unite to End TB. Currently, there are 165 multi-drug resistant TB patients actively on medication on the island. Quinten Alomp, National MTV News.
Meanwhile, the Health Department has opened the first lab centre for drug sensitivity testing for TB. Health Secretary Pascal Casses said the lab is critical as TB remains a major threat throughout the country. The lab will be the first in-house facility for diagnosing and monitoring of TB patients and will save the government from spending outside the country. It took nearly 2 years to build the Central Public Health Lab following guidelines from the World Health Organization and international standards. Papua New Guineans will benefit from the latest smartphones and accessories introduced by Huawei Technologies Limited. This was disclosed today by Huawei's Marketing and Retail Director Johnny Yong in Port Moresby. Eric Harupma has more.
The largest phone distributor in the country, Huawei Technologies Limited, is offering quite an extensive range of its phone products which are currently available in its major outlets nationwide. Huawei Marketing and Retail Director Johnny Yong, speaking off camera to media personnel, said customers will now enjoy using Huawei's latest phone accessories and gadgets. This includes the latest Huawei brands in Y6 Pro, GX8, Enjoy 5S, Honor 5X, Mate 6 and many others. Mr. Yong said Papua New Guinea is the biggest Huawei consumer in the Asia-Pacific region. As a result, Huawei is looking at an approximate net profit of $1.4 billion, which is equivalent to 4.08 billion kina. Meanwhile, Huawei Alcatel brand is the fastest selling phone in the country. The Chinese company has been manufacturing mobile phones since 1997. Eric Harupma, National MTV News.
Stories making headlines overseas when we come back. The deadly bomb blast in Pakistan, Pope Francis' Easter message, and a visit to one of the holiest sites in the Bible. Welcome back to Monday's news. Heading overseas, and we begin in Pakistan, where fear and panic gripped the nation when things turned deadly in a park as suicide bombers struck near a playground, killing at least 67 people. Police say more than 300 others are hurt. An offshoot of the Pakistani Taliban says it's responsible for the bloodshed.
It's a scene of chaos, destruction and heartbreak. A suicide bomber targeted a crowded Pakistani park on Sunday, where families had gathered to celebrate the Christian holiday of Easter. The attack took place near a children's amusement area of the Lahore Park, leaving scores dead and hundreds more injured, mostly women and children.
We've been told by security officials that the part of the park which was attacked was the children's park, where children were playing. It was more crowded than usual. It was a Sunday evening, and that is why a lot of the people who have been injured and killed were families who'd gone there to celebrate and just enjoy their holiday.
Hospitals in Lahore, one of the country's largest cities, are in a state of emergency. A splinter group of the Taliban has claimed responsibility.
A splinter group of the Pakistani Taliban called Jamaat al-Ahrar had sent in information to CNN that they were behind this attack in Lahore, and they have said that this attack has taken place specifically targeting Christians.
A Pakistan military spokesperson tweeted that the Chief of Army Staff held a meeting to evaluate the situation. He also condemned the attack, saying Chief of Army Staff resolved that we must bring the killers of our innocent brothers, sisters and children to justice, and will never allow these savage humans to overrun our life and liberty. Meanwhile, families are left to pick up the pieces of a celebration turned tragedy.
And now to Belgium, where 4 people are in custody after 13 anti-terrorism raids were conducted. And even as people in Brussels mourn the victims of last week's terror attacks, hundreds of anti-immigrant protesters converged on the city's makeshift memorial.
This is what the Place de la Bourse has looked like since the day of the Brussels attacks. Large, quiet crowds honouring the victims, sometimes applauding respectfully. That changed Sunday. Hundreds of men dressed in black with their faces covered invaded the square. "We're in our home," they cried. They surrounded the memorial site, unrolling flags and banners, screaming together. These were right-wing nationalists. Loud, aggressive, intimidating, many drinking alcohol. Some others in the square challenged their behaviour. There were scuffles. Police struggled to keep them apart.
To some degree,
we were broadcasting live when someone started letting off fireworks. Riot police moved forward, surrounding the crowd and slowly driving it out of the square. Another rival group began chanting too, denouncing the men in black as hateful racists and cheering for the police as they advanced. The police used water cannon once they were clear of the square. It was all over in about an hour. The memorial was quiet again, but some people here were left even more upset because of what they'd just seen. Daniel Hollebeck says his 19-year-old daughter lost 2 legs in the suicide blast at Malbec metro station.
When you see this, you know what I mean? It's not normal. My daughter don't have legs.
The atmosphere of quiet sorrow was shattered only briefly, enough to expose a powerful divide in how people here are responding to terror.
Now to some good news. In some parts of the world, it is Easter Sunday today. And in St. Peter's Square, thousands of Christians joined Pope Francis to celebrate Easter Sunday Mass at the Vatican. It's of course one of the most important days on the Christian calendar, which commemorates the resurrection of Jesus 2 days after his death on the cross. Security around the Vatican City had been tight after the deadly bombings in Brussels. The attack clearly on the mind of Pontiff as he delivered his Easter message.
A beautiful and peaceful Easter celebration here in Rome amid security concerns and heightened police presence at the Vatican. Pope Francis remembered the victims of terrorism, calling terrorism a blind and brutal violence. He also remembered those involved in armed conflicts throughout the world and expressed the hope that peace might prevail in places like Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Libya, and the Middle East. The Pope also remembered the plight of refugees, migrants, and those who are persecuted for their faith. And he called on people to go out with renewed courage, he said, and blaze trails of reconciliation with their brothers and sisters.
And Easter was celebrated as well in Jerusalem's Old City, inside what's considered one of the holiest sites in Christianity. You may be surprised to find who holds the key to this sacred church.
Holy Week dawns in Jerusalem. The tension of the Old City has melted away. Adib Judah makes his way through the narrow alleys to his job. He carries with him the obligation of centuries.
Good morning, Andre.
His ancestors have held this job. Now it is his turn. He's entrusted with the key to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is the site where the Bible says Jesus Christ was crucified. It is one of the holiest sites in Christianity. And its key belongs to a Muslim family, a neutral guardian for a site sacred to so many Christian denominations. Judah shows us the family cupboard. Inside is a Quran and a Bible. He considers the church a second home. The contracts for the guardian of the key date back hundreds of years. He shows us the oldest contract in his home. It was written in 1517. This is the family heritage, he says. It's all we own as a family. And this is not only an honor for our family, this is an honor for all Muslims in the world. He has pictures of his great-grandfather who cared for the key at the turn of the last century. In this family, that's recent history. This is the key to one of the holiest places in Christianity. Yes. And every morning, this key opens the door. For 500 years.
For
more than 850 years. He tells me what we pass to the next generation is not only the key, but also the way you respect other religions. At 4 in the morning on Holy Thursday, the Armenian Orthodox offer their prayers. Next it'll be the Franciscans, then the Greek Orthodox, and others. Judah protects the church key for all of them. It's a model of coexistence dating back centuries that can serve as a lesson of interfaith harmony even to this day.
And Trukai Sports is next. I'll be back with all the details. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The 4-day Easter camp hosted by Netball PNG was a huge success, with over 60 young women registering interest in joining the under-21 team and 12 potential peppers. Head of the coaching staff and national coach Unaisi Rokora said selecting a final squad for the under-21 peppers to the World Cup Youth qualifiers later this month will be a challenge. The Easter camp attracted talent from all over the country, even Australia.
With the World Cup Youth qualifiers scheduled for September to November, Netball PNG were out on a mission to scout some fresh talent for the year ahead. With over 74 athletes registering interest, Netball PNG coaching staff ran clinics focused on drilling techniques and court skills. With one of the biggest and best turnouts in recent years, head of the coaching staff and national coach Una Rokora was pleased with the turnout and the dedication of athletes who traveled far and wide to attend the first of 3 training camps.
This is one of the first 3 camps that we're holding for the under-21s, and also we've opened up the selection to any open players who are wanting to come in to try out for spot with the Pepe's national squad. But and again, you know, the amount of talent that have been shown by the under-21 players, it's amazing. You know, we've seen some really great quality players and great skills been shown. And yeah, you know, we have a goal to achieve this weekend. That is to select the best available players for the World Cup Youth qualifiers, and the top 3 from this Oceania qualifiers. Then we'll win a ticket to the World Youth Cup next year.
Una says the coaching staff will have to look at putting together a final squad by the end of this week. Their main selection criteria will be looking at the skills and techniques of each individual. With a little over 60 talented girls, Netball PNG now has a daunting task at hand, shortlisting a squad for the big gig towards the end of the year. Jaylee Sapies, National EMTV Sports.
To football in the Morbe province now, City United lost to Zulu West 1-0 in the Myrob's Easter Challenge yesterday. They finished last in their pool, but the young team showed potential, with Morbe Wellgris United striker Alex Kamen featuring in the Easter Challenge at the Lay Football Grounds. Bethany Harriman reports.
In the main game yesterday that featured City United and Zulu Wests, in the first 2 minutes, quick exchanges by both teams, the boys in yellow looking stronger. 6 minutes into the game and an unsuccessful attempt at goal by Zulu West's Rodney Taulau. In the 15th minute, his teammate Gabby Hanseg missed close. One minute later, another miss by Henry Ronnie. Gabby Hensley missed again in the 21st minute. On a rare chance, City United's Alex Kamen heads the ball over the crossbar in the 31st minute. At halftime, the scores remained 0-0. 5 minutes into the second half and a chance for City United's Eddie Mon, who steered it wide. The second half dragged on, with several breaks from Telecom NSL's Wellgris Morbe United FC player Alex Kamen. He had no support to turn those breaks into points. Zulu West sealed their win when George Pamundi scored in the 67th minute. After yesterday afternoon's main game, City United remains winless and at the bottom of their pool. The boys in yellow lost in the quarterfinals. Bethany Harriman, National MTV Sports, Ley.
Still on the Easter Challenge, MAP Centres won the semi-final match against Bugandi 3-1 to qualify for the grand final earlier. Centres started the game on a high note, giving Bugandi little chance of scoring in the first half.
MAP Centres, after defeating rival Bumayong in the quarter-finals, maintained their same game plan in the semi-final match against Bugandi to go into the grand final. The MAP Centres keeping the momentum going as kept the Bugandi fans quiet throughout the match. In the 17 minutes of the first half, Ashron Dairus of MAP Centres opened the scoreboard with the first goal. But that was not all. Alex Kamen of Wellgrease in the 38th minute put in their second goal to bring the score to a 2-point lead. MAP Centres went into halftime leading Bugandi 2-0. In the opening minutes of the second half, Alex Kamen scored his second goal to bring the score to 3-0. Bugandi's number 18, determined to keep his team in the game, put in their first goal in the 59th minute to bring the score to 3-1. However, MAP Centres maintained their strong defense to go on to win the match and qualify in the grand final match this afternoon. Mata Luis, National MTV Sports, Ley.
And in the grand final match, MAP Centres took out the Marabs Haika Easter Cup Challenge, defeating Pascals 3-0. The first score in the 23rd minute of the first half by Francis John. The second goal was scored in the 38th minute of the second half, and the last goal was scored in the last minute of the game. Esron Darius putting the final touches. And Trukai Sports continues next with rugby and the National Softball Championships. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The PNG Rugby Football Union held its final trial match over the weekend to select a team for the Hong Kong Sevens in 2 weeks. While the departure of Butler Morris and Billy Toria has made headlines over the past month, the boys proved to be very much intact, with Wesley Valley, Paul Nelson and Manu Gais obvious standouts. The team is expected to be finalised and announced this week.
The PNG Rugby Football Union held their final trial match over the weekend to select a team to the Hong Kong Sevens. While the departure of Butler Morris and Billy Toria has made headlines over the past month, the boys proved to be very much intact, with Wesley Valley, Paul Nelson and Manu Gais obvious standouts. PNG will front a physical outfit in Spain, Chile and Mexico. Competition, however, they are used to. Last year, the PNG Pukpuks just fell short of qualifying for the full leg. PNG topped their pool, thrashing Tunisia 19-0, 21-19 against South Korea, 26-17 against Russia, and 38-10 over Uruguay. Despite bowing out to the Russians 26-7 in the Cup semi-finals, the PNG Pukpuks have another opportunity to qualify for the full series next month. With Manu Gais in the midfield and a whole heap of gas and pace to him, he'll be backed by Wesley Valley and Hensley Peter on the wing.
By Papua New Guinea's Hubert.
Jaylee Sapies, National MTV Sports.
Following round 4 of the 2016 Queensland Intra Super Cup season, the PNG Hunters have moved a disappointing 2 places down the competition ladder. The move from first place to third comes after the Hunters' 28-20 loss to the Sunshine Coast Falcons yesterday at the Sunshine Coast Stadium in Australia. Still on 6 competition points, the Hunters are sitting tight behind Townsville Blackhawks and Burleigh Bears, who are also on 6 points. In softball, Port Moresby Gold has made it 8th in a row, defending the title as the national softball champions in the women's side. Port Moresby Gold defeated sister team Port Moresby Whites in the national championships held over Easter in Port Moresby.
Despite heavy rains this morning in the nation's capital, the National Softball Championships proceeded at the BOSKI Diamonds. Winner 8 times in a row, both Mosby Gold have defended their position as women's champions of the national titles. Port Moresby Gold proved their worth, beating an undefeated Port Moresby White team. Gold opened the scoreboard, registering 7 runs in the first inning. White's return saw them scoreless with their first K2 at bottom 1 inning. Gold and White showed some strong defense in the second inning. But it was not until Gold's Lisa Pollum slugged the ball to the outfield that brought her sisters home in the remaining innings. Gold was then declared as the 2016 women's title holder, defeating White 17-2. Meanwhile, Captain Nadia BAIS was proud of Gold's achievement.
Won it for 8 times in a row, and I can't say much. From Gold has done well once again, and all credit goes back to the players. And we want to take big thanks our sponsors, Pacific MMI, our executives from Women's Association, and congratulations to the other teams for making it to the finals. And that's all. All credit goes back to the players.
Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV Sports.
The 4-day 7-a-side charity soccer tournament concluded today on a high note despite the heavy downpour. Teams braved the rain and turned out in numbers to complete the final playoffs, the winners taking home medals and trophies to show for an event worth playing for.
With 35 corporate houses and 68 teams, the 2016 Charity Soccer 7-a-side tournament is one of the largest and successful charity-organized events. The tournament ran throughout the Easter period with teams braving rain and slippery conditions to wrap up the event on a high note. Teams placed in divisions including Junior Mixed Division, which saw Puma Energy taking out the first prize. Kumul Petroleum finished second and third respectively. Puma Energy again proved the dominating team in both Masters Division and Men's Division, finishing first. Teachers Savings and Loan Society topped the Women's Division, and NASFAN and NU Guinea finishing second respectively in the Masters and Men's Division. KTK Accountants were the better side in the Senior Mixed Division to finish on top. Second place went to Urban Consultants, and ExxonMobil won, and ExxonMobil shared the third spot. Number 1 trophy was the most flamboyant side to wrap up the division.
And we raised funds for our nominated charitable organizations. For this year's event, we will be giving the handing over the proceedings from the profit over to the women's doctor, and that will help them to carry on with the project that they have in lay.
However, with another successful event come to a close, it's back to work tomorrow for the corporate clients. Shane Saroya, National MTV Sports.
Kenya has dominated the sport of athletics for decades, producing some of the finest runners in the world. But in the last 5 years, more than 40 of its athletes have taken performance-enhancing drugs. Now, the African nation has less than a week to show the World Anti-Doping Agency that its athletes are clean.
Elite athletes and an early morning run on gravel. It's a far cry from the training facilities of developed nations.
Yeah, it's a passion. I'm actually helping. I'm not in any kind of business. I'm not on anybody's payroll. They're on my payroll. So I'm doing this as a charity, giving back to the society.
But training at the Rongai Athletics Club are several Olympians and a world silver medalist. No one from this club has ever returned a positive test for a banned substance.
We need clean athletes. So I know myself that I don't take all those things. I just walk away and train hard, win easy.
Over those long legs, take him to the gold medal! Currently, there are 18 Kenyan athletes serving suspensions for doping, and 3 top athletics officials have been suspended pending corruption investigations.
It is not a problem for Kenya alone. If you realize that Russia and other countries were mentioned, and Jamaica and even the US. So this is not a new phenomenon for Kenya.
WADA says some progress has been made in Kenya, but there is still a lot of work required. A national anti-doping agency has been established, but there is no legislation empowering it. Not one athlete has been tested, and key staff are yet to be hired.
We are in the process of now seeking authority to advertise those positions, which will be fully filled in the near future.
The clock is ticking.
April the 5th is the deadline that's been set by WADA for Kenya to have its athletics house in order. If not, there's a chance this proud sporting nation could miss the Rio Olympics.
And that ends Trukai Sports for tonight. The weather details when we return.
Trukai Sports.
Now taking a look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, coastal showers in Port Moresby, a shower or two in Daru, morning coastal showers for Kerma, and some showers for Alotau and Popondetta. In the Momase region, showers for Ley City, some showers for Madang, a shower or two for Wewak and Vanimore. In the New Guinea Islands, mostly fine in Lorengau, a shower or two for Kavieng, and some showers in Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka. And lastly, in the Highlands region, a shower or two in Mount Hagen, Mendi, Kundiawa and Wabeg, and some showers for Goroka. Before we go, recapping our main stories for tonight. 6 vehicles reported stolen in NCD, 4 PNGDF soldiers rearrested for the murder of a student, and deadly bombings in Pakistan targets Christians. And that's been the news, sports and weather this Easter Monday. On behalf of the entire news team, pleasant working week. Good night.